Hey guys, it's Jim. Welcome to the shop. I got a simple little project here. It's kind of the continuation of the fishing rod lathe. I thought I'd show you the process I use to make these little Delrin hubs that go in the middle of the aluminum wheels that I've made. And I've actually still got a bunch of work. I've got them, all the wheels are done, but I need to put the slots in them. But I had to remake several of these center hubs. They're Delrin, 3/4 inch Delrin rod, and I didn't touch them off and round them up, and then they were just wobbling more than I like, so I'm redoing some of those. They actually go pretty quick, but I thought the process was interesting. It uses one part of it, I turn it in reverse to do the taper here on the outside. From the back side, so I turn it backwards to do that on the lathe, which is nice. It's a good demonstration of when or why you would use the reverse function on that lathe. And I use the dial indicator to measure the thickness, which is fairly critical because these little axle bolts that came with it, we're reusing those, and the hub needs to be just the right undersized dimension. You probably can't see that, but that hub needs to be just slightly shorter than the axle so that the shoulder hits the frame first, and then that way it'll still turn. So I'm going to show you making a couple of these on the lathe, and let's get to it. Okay, here we are at the lathe. This is the step that I decided to not try the first go around, and I made about a dozen of these little hubs and then realized that they weren't round enough. I thought that, the Delrin rod is pretty round. It's not like it's really crazy out of whack. It must have been more than I could see. So this step here is what I didn't do. I'm just kind of cleaning up the outside diameter. This piece has already been center drilled, and if anybody recognizes the order of things that I might do differently to improve the process here, I'd leave a comment. That'd be great. So I've already center drilled this and then drilled it to 1/4 inch and probably an inch or inch and a half deep, because I'm making several here and just parting them off as the last step. There I'm just kind of checking to make sure that I haven't cleaned it up too much, and that's why I didn't do this the first time. I thought, well, I want those to fit really tight, so that you have to tap them in. They're a friction fit. They need to be tight enough so that that doesn't create its own set of problems and wobble and be too loose. So, but cleaning up the outside diameter here, it's already been center drilled, and then checking it to make sure that it still fits the hub. Part of the way I'm doing those aluminum wheels, I have a 3/4 inch drill bit that I'm using to drill that final sized center hole, and so I don't want to have to use a boring bar or anything for that step. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible so that I don't add extra complexity in the process, because there's nothing real critical. They don't turn very fast, so none of it has to be really perfect as far as round or concentric or all that. But I want them to be good, and I'm trying to learn from this, so that's part of what's going on there. Looks like I just switched tools. I think this is my facing tool, and I think I was just trying to see if it gave a little bit better finish, or it appeared like it wasn't even taking any material off. I know I got the height set right, but I think with Delrin it's a little bit different. Maybe too fast or too slow or whatever. But I was just trying the different geometry there to see if it did a little bit differently as far as cleaning up that outside. Now I'm bringing in a 1/4 inch bit. I think I'm going to drill this a little bit deeper. I don't know how, it was probably only about a 1/2 inch or something like that, but I would have done this first, but I'm just kind of continuing. And I'm not sure, I don't understand the physics or the geometry of center drilling, why that wants to stay straight and go right down the center of that rod If somebody knows the physics explanation there that us new guys would understand, I'd love to hear it. But I think that's interesting that if you tried to center drill that on the drill press, holding the part still and turning the bit, you'd never get it down the center of the part. So that's one of the curiosities to me anyway of machining. So we got it center drilled a little bit deeper. I think now we come up to the step of putting the taper on there, which I think is the interesting part of all of this. That tool is just a bit that I had. I think it's a right-hand turning tool, but it has a lot of back rake and top rake. It's something I don't use for much, but it was nice to be able to put it in my knurling holder so I could put it on the back side like this. The reason I'm not turning this from the front side and going forward is because then the crank handle that you see me cranking there on the compound, you have to swing that clear around to the back side of the lathe to get that same taper. So I like having it out there and then turning it backwards. But my compound reads 90 there, which I think is 45. I've had the thing apart, so I may not have it indexed. But anyway, it's about a 45, or maybe it's a 60. And so that to get that, I touched off on the back side, then I come away from the part, and then I come towards me 120 thousandths. That's 2 turns on the hand wheel. I just did that because 2 turns was easy, and then it looked about right. So I eyeballed it and tried a couple, and that looked good, so that's what I used. So 120 thousandths back towards the center, and then touch off and then turn the compound towards the headstock, and that puts that taper on there. And now what I'm doing, I've got a parting blade in the tool holder there, and I've got the dial indicator set. So now what I do is basically put the parting tool up against the end and then move in 420 thousandths on the dial indicator, and that gives me the width that I need. And that's critical because of the length of that hub, or the length of the shoulder on those nuts, or the bolt, axle bolts. Here I'm just pulling out another section of that Delrin to do a couple more. So just measuring the depth of the hole there to see what I have left. It's, of course, I don't think it'd be a trash part if I tried to finish it and then part it off and the hole didn't go clear through. It would be hard to drill it after the fact and still have it in the center. So here I am putting on that cutter that goes on the back side. So I move over to the back side of the part. I'm running in reverse now, and I go up to the end of the part there and just touch off and then come out away from it. And I don't know what I did there. I think I had to clean up the outside diameter. I hadn't done that yet, so there we go. I must have edited this. So we're putting it back in. We're gonna go do that again. Touch off and then come back towards the center, 120 thousandths, and put the taper on it. So touching off and moving 120 thousandths toward the center, then touch off on the end of the part, and then turn the compound dial to put the taper on it. One thing I have to remember there when I'm doing that is to back the compound back out, otherwise I end up with compound clear at the end of the full travel, and then I get set up to do the next one and realize, well, I don't have enough travel left to do it. So I think that's kind of a neat process, and the only reason I do it in reverse, I think I mentioned this, is that I don't like, you can do it from the front, but then you have to have the compound set the same degree angle on the other side of the center line towards the back of the lathe, and so it's just a little easier with the crank, the hand wheel out there towards the front of the lathe. Here I am putting the parting blade tool holder back in, adjusting the dial indicator, which I'm sorry you can't see very good, but I set that to about 20 thousandths, and then I go in 420, total of 420 towards the headstock. That's the width, counting the width of my parting blade, so that's the total 420 thousandths. Move in and then part it off. And that Delrin, if you want to practice parting something that's easy, that's the stuff to try right there. I think you could put a butter knife in there and part that stuff. Works pretty good. And I think that about covers it. I'm just checking the depth of the hole here, getting ready to do some more. You got questions or comments? Go ahead and leave them in the comments, and we'll see you next time.